Hi.
Hi.
I received your parcel, Alka.
Oh, you did?
I did. Thank you so much.
Did you like it?
I love it.
Isn't it beautiful?
I've
You're
been
the first person I thought of when I saw that book. I have to get this book.
I've been following this artist for 2 years now.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Oh my God, that's
So make
lovely.
tea, na?
You don't already have it, no?
Very poignant. No, no, no. So I've been eyeing this for a long time. And I thought, okay, I'll buy it
Uh,
one day. I'll buy it one day. Fabulous. This is
uh,
an amazing book. And
yeah, it's such a beautiful.
even the movie is out. Did you see the movie?
No, I haven't seen the movie. I didn't even know there was a movie.
The movie is out, and this
Oh,
was nominated for some Oscar, either for animation or something like that.
acha, acha,
So
acha.
the author
Oh,
has
I
been
see.
speaking about his whole red carpet journey and everything. I don't think they won,
Oh,
but not being
no,
nominated was good. Yeah, good. Tomorrow,
it's
I'm
such a
taking care of
delight.
it for tomorrow, and I like the inscription also. Very good handwriting.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
I'm so proud.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you liked it. I seriously, like, when I saw the book, I'm like, oh, I have to get this for Aditi. Really such a lovely book.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Hi everyone.
Hi, Varsha.
What's that book, Aditi?
Oh, let me show you. This is
Yeah.
a lovely illustrated book by a guy named Charlie Makesy or Makesy.
Oh, I know this one. Did you watch the movie? This
No, I
is so, I
haven't.
follow him. Oh my God, I follow him and everything on Instagram. I love his posts. He leaves books everywhere as well.
They
It's
are
such a nice thing to do.
his sometimes his statements are so poignant. They are like uh,
Yeah.
the very heartfelt statements of Calvin and Hobbes almost.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
that's what I,
humor as much as just hope and like a hopeless hope.
yeah.
They're very lovely. They're just very, very
I'm
nice.
following him from COVID time. It's amazing. He gave so much hope.
Yeah.
And he's got a
I
movie
just
on
love how he says,
Mm.
eyes,
add
this thing.
cake to everything. That's so sweet. Just add cake to everything. And if it doesn't work, eat cake. Like, wow.
Yeah.
It's
Very,
true. Cake
And
makes things better.
Really, no?
so more than the text, of course, I love the illustration style. It's just so fluid and very apt actually to be getting this week because we're doing animals and birds and things. So these are just pen and ink illustrations. I might as well just show you since we're here. So everything is written in, now this is written with a brush or a much wider nib. And this is also drawn in that fat nib. So at some point in this year's schedule, I've not put in pen and ink, but we will be doing this. These are all ink illustrations. You get a lot of texture. And I think this ink pen also bleeds a lot. So there are some nibs that are very flexible. So nice.
yeah.
Look at these. It's just such cute scribbles.
Mm.
He won an Oscar for his movie.
Did he win it?
He did, yes. It is so nice. Sugar.
I never saw that. Maybe I should watch the Oscars this year.
Yeah, it's just a short film, 30-40 minutes but
Yeah.
it's on Apple, I think. Apple
Yeah,
TV.
I saw it somewhere.
The more than the story, it was just about same thing, the brush strokes and
Yeah.
how he's made it animated. It's awesome.
Mm.
Ah, look at that.
Yeah, do pick it up. Huh? This is like one of those books you should have in your book collection. And we often don't look at books as heirloom. But this is one of those. It's got timeless messages and the illustration that is beautiful. So here's one thing that I learned over time, that when you see a book in publication, it's there and you say, okay, someday I'll pick it up. But they do stop publishing books. And even if they're available on the net, that's not like having a physical copy. So I'm still pretty old school about books. If you find a book that is exceptional, that keeps your attention for more than 10 minutes, buy the book. Eat out less for that one meal. Have a sandwich or a banana, but buy the book because that might not come back. Okay, so I fully support books and purchasing them and having a library. And this is almost like a vengeance because my mom used to always say, why are you buying a book? You can always go to a library. So we never have had books in our house. And the moment I started earning, I started just buying books. There are some that I have not seen the inside of for 20 years, 25 years. But knowing that I can go to it at any point is enough for me. Sometimes just having it in the rack itself, I feel, okay, there is something that I can go to. I'd have no idea when that leisurely moment is going to come. But I know that sometime in the future, if I can't go out or do anything, or another pandemic, let's hope, we will have at least books. Okay, so yeah, so today we are doing birds. And I totally forgot about that Kingfisher idea. Varsha, thanks for asking me.
Shivani was asking for that, yeah.
Okay.
But these crows were looking so challenging to paint. I don't know how you would do that with us.
No, so that's what I thought. We would do a little bit of the crow also first, because there's something that I wanted you to see. Normally in birds, we look at color and texture and the patterns that they have. But a crow is, in a sense, it's like, this is what I am. This is what you get. So it's only focusing on shape and very subtle highlights. But of all the people, some of the best crows were illustrated by R.K. Lakshman. And his series of crows is so enigmatic. It's so beautiful. So I thought we'd give it a shot, and I just wanted to at least do a small demo of how you can appreciate illustration of birds through crows. And then we can move to the Kingfisher. So since we are doing animals firstly in detail and then a sketch of them, and last month we've done pencil sketching, I want us to just indulge in a few pencil sketches of the crow and the different images that I have sent. So let me just go over these images. I'll demonstrate one and then you can follow suit. So what we're looking at is distinctive lines when the color is not too separated. So we have a very subtle, almost same color texture of the feathers, but there is a distinct difference in grays and the blacks, and that is what gives the object its three-dimensionality. Here we have motion. This is a nice study in how to draw birds in motion, even something like this. And there are some pictures which one must indulge in. Now, painting this might not be really an attractive option, but sketching this definitely would be. And here we have, this is a very interesting sample, and you could spend some time in illustrating this, because while you might think that the crow is black, this actually can be illustrated in shades of blue and black, and maybe even little bits of brown in a few places, a little golden highlight here. So if we were to expand it into what watercolor it makes possible, you can make this an extremely colorful picture, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be representative of a crow. Okay, then of course we will move on to drawing a kingfisher, either this or this, either should be fine. So just 10-15 minutes of sketching to get our hands moving, and then we will move forward. All right, so let me first take on that last image of the close-up of the crow. We are not going to make our images more than about this size. So on one page, we can have 1, 2, 3, 4 crows, and then the image of the kingfisher over here. So for the image of the close-up, okay, let me show you how you can share, observe. Let me share the image and show you how to observe certain proportions. As always, I will go to our basic shapes. So first and foremost, any point where you see something round, you will have a circle or a square. A circle or an oval. Always resort to a circle. So there are lots of things when you draw a circle that become apparent. Making a grid in a circle is also fairly easy. So you just draw a horizontal and vertical line at half. And there are so many things that become easy to understand. Then you have, of course, the 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock grid lines. So you can say that the beak starts somewhere away from the center over here, and you can give yourself that line also, how far away. So if you were to divide this part into 3, so 1, 2, 3 equal parts. You have this point here from where you can start the beak. Now I'm giving you only this much in detail, but not the entire thing. And I want you to figure these things out. That you can objectively, like here you have objectively a starting point from 11 o'clock, just below it. Coming straight out, all these lines are coming straight out, and they are, the distance between that is about the same as you have the inside. Right? So it's almost half of the circle outside. Are you getting this? So I'm going to share a picture of this on the group, this measurement, so you know what I'm talking about. Now, when you are sketching, use, of course, very sketchy lines. And start off with the circle. Extend this outward. And using those measures that I have given you, you can create the shapes. And at least you get some place as a starting point. Now, that is just one way of looking at it, and by no means is that the only way of looking at a reference image. You can come up with your own measuring devices as well. So once you get the basic shape and proportions, you can start making the texture. Now, if those of you who have a pen handy, a micron pen, you can illustrate the remaining in pen. And use a waterproof pen. Even here, you can keep your lines fairly casual. Because after all, we are just trying to make a sketch. So a sketch like that helps you understand some basic identifiers of birds, like how to draw a beak, what are the different shapes of beaks, the growth of feathers, in what direction you can show them growing. And here now comes the fun bit. At least I enjoy this a lot because anyone who enjoys making doodle textures has at some point or another made a texture that looks very much like bird feathers. And I'm not making them like a doodle texture because then this there's a danger that this illustration will start looking like a graphic. And that is a choice that you should have. Not everything should be converted into a graphic. Okay, is everyone getting this? Are there any questions you might have? Please feel free to ask.
Aditya, are you holding the pen a little differently?
I'm just holding it a little far, and
Okay.
this pen I think is the ink I think is drying up. I'm not pressing it too hard, so I'm getting a very light line. I'm just following the line that I see of the feathers. Now here I often override certain details that I see in the picture. There is a nice highlight on the right and a highlight on the left. So I'll mark that, but I will mark a dark spot for the eye and a rather dark outline around the iris of the eye. For a picture like this, once you have made so much detail in pen, the watercolor part can just be a few washes and a few splashes of the right color. So here I can see there's a lot of blue. I'm going to mix a little bit of cerulean blue and ultramarine blue. Oh, sorry, not ultramarine. Yeah, maybe ultramarine for the black. There's a Freudian slip. Give me a better solution than what I was going for. And avoid making a frame around this. You don't have to make a frame around every picture. This one we can avoid. With so much detail built in, your first wash can literally just be a spread of color, a very light wash like so. This is pure cerulean blue. Now here there's a even lighter highlight, so I'm not going to paint that. And as you can see, I'm not painting it flat, so I'm leaving some parts unpainted also. To this, on the top, I'm going to add cobalt blue. There's a certain amount of cobalt blue in the beak as well. And wherever I'm applying this, I hope you notice that I am pressing the brush down. So I don't, I'm not applying so much with the tip as much as I'm applying with the side of the brush. And a painting like that ought to be painted mostly just as a wet on wet. So I'm going into the black part also fairly quick and hoping that it merges. So for the merge to be effective, I'm going to keep the paint wet as I apply the darker shades. So one must remember that the superpower of watercolor is in these fluid merges. And as much as we are not concerned about accuracy of color, we must be concerned about this flow of paint. If you don't get these organic flows of color in whatever painting you're making in watercolor, you're actually missing the point of doing watercolor in the first place. We're not really looking for spaces filled up accurately.
Ma'am, just give me 1 moment, I'll be right back.
Yeah. Now, the reason why we don't make a box around this is because here we have the opportunity to, I could also use a little bit of yellow ochre over here. And then black. And then blue. So here we have the opportunity of leaving the painting a little unfinished so that it looks more like a painting. These are all aesthetic choices. So with things like feathers or fur, you can paint just along the edge of the feather to create a certain darkened effect. Now, after your first wash is done, you can use a slightly thicker paint and add in some details. So just a few lines. First, the grays, like over here, just press down and you get a little gray line over here. And then something like this. So my question to everyone is, are you able to see the crow as the different colors from our palette? Or are you still seeing it as a black crow?
If you zoom in, then you can see that it's not black. There's lots of blues.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Shivani. When you see the pixels, you realize that it's not black. The overall effect to mind is that it's a crow, therefore it must be black. But otherwise, it actually isn't. Now, if you're comfortable with just one size brush, it's fine. But if you're not, then change your brush according to the requirement. As you have to make details, reduce the brush size.
Aditi, what is the greenish color you use?
This is just yellow ochre.
Okay.
Okay, so the purpose of painting the crow was to show you this, that with birds, you can be in control of how you want to show that bird. Unless, of course, you are invited to illustrate for a book on birds, then please stick to the bird's colors, original colors. Don't try anything like that, because that will throw a lot of birders off. They'll be out looking for a blue and yellow crow, which does not exist anywhere but in your imagination. So remember that context is important for everything. If you're going to put a picture of a crow in your house, this will look fine. Or even in terms of illustrating for a story. Storybook illustrations are often made to look very fun and engaging. So in that case, a crow like that would make a lot of sense. Now, at this stage, this crow is maybe at 50% of its finished avatar. We can do a lot more. We can make the colors much deeper. We can also change medium and move from watercolor to color pencil, maybe a little bit of crayon or pastel. even behind this, we can do a little bit of other mediums of wash perhaps. So there's lots that you can do with just this one illustration. Now, the other images of the crow that we have are more for sketching. So,
Aditi, could you zoom into the eye?
yeah.
How did you do the eye?
Yeah, I just put a little bit of cobalt blue on the top and a little bit of yellow ochre at the bottom to finish it.
Ah, okay.
Aditi ma'am, can you show again how you draw the feathers?
Yeah.
Stri-
So these feathers are just like texture. And so for the detail, I would just make a little bit of gray behind some of these feather shapes to make them stand out. And otherwise, even something like I could add a little bit of blue. Just at the top so that I get more dimension. Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
And as far as these are concerned, these strands are just made one on top of the other as thin as you can. And as you can see the detail, but sometimes you'll see only the ends of certain feathers because they have turned in a certain way. And there would be a highlight, like over here, there's a highlight. You see the starts and then you see the ends like this. And then of course, there's a dark patch here. Now here's one exercise. I don't know if you all feel up to it. You can sketch using just watercolor also. So the next one, if you want, you can try making this crow in just shades of gray. So whatever you are going to do in pen or pencil, you could do in just paint. So you drop color in a light shade if you want to, if you're not confident. And nobody is confident in the beginning. So even I will proceed very cautiously. But since it's a crow, you can get away with a lot. Now with birds, those of you who have done some birding before, as much as we for I guess muggles who are not into birding don't realize that a lot of time bird species are differentiated by their beaks or certain size differences. So the two pictures of the kingfisher that I have shown to you are probably two different varieties of the same bird. So we have to be very respectful of these differences. So when it comes to crows, spend a little extra time, or any bird, spend a little extra time in observing and illustrating the beak. So crow has a very distinctive beak. And a little longer will turn your crow into some other bird altogether. So I have shifted to a tiny brush for that purpose. And then I'm not focusing on the eye this time since I'm doing a silhouette, but then focus on the neck. My head has become too large. I'm going to grow the rest of the body a little bit. And in this also, I'm going to add a little bit of blue. And this is just because I enjoy blue, not because you need to. So my bird dimensions have changed because the head was looking too big for this. So this is a sketch made in purely watercolor. So we've not done these before. And in this, a lot of simplification is also possible. Like as far as the feet are concerned, you can just get away with making so much and a horizontal line and finish it off. And then if you're very keen, of course, you can drop in extra color to make it dark in some areas. This also makes it very dramatic.
Generally, at my place there are not many crows. Now only crows are creating sound. As if
So
they
many
see.
crows are friends. We have so many crows here. They come every day and we love them because I don't know. I love crows. I don't like, you know what? I don't like pigeons. I don't like pigeons.
I don't know why everybody is hating so much on pigeons. Has somebody started this?
They're a nuisance. We have so many of them here. It's just such a nuisance. Oof,
Which
they're
one?
so
Pigeons,
dumb.
right?
Yeah, they're really dumb. They get into the
Yeah,
house and they have
yeah.
no idea how to get out again. Oof.
That's
That's
true.
why I think.
Oh,
Like
and they
crows are
poop so much.
clever.
They're just pooping
And
all over the place.
yeah, agreed.
I think I'm going to start a pigeon appreciation society.
No. There are too many
I'm
people
not joining.
appreciating pigeons.
I can
No,
tell
I'll
you
tell
right
you,
now.
there have been wars fought to harvest pigeon poop from islands in the South Pacific.
God.
Yeah, so if
Oh
you
my God, they should just come to Bombay
collect
and
that
harvest
pigeon
all
poop
over
and
it.
put it in your plants, they will flourish. The moment people start realizing that they can make money out of pigeons, suddenly they'll become such a cash crop. Everybody thinks they're a nuisance. So sad, poor thing.
What I
Dander
read is
is
that
poop is
pigeon
very
poop is
so-
toxic.
toxic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very
They're
toxic.
so
It causes
dumb.
diseases in humans.
Oh, no,
the
so
worst are these
I-
pigeons because
I just want to ask, so far I have met one person who knows one person who has a problem with pigeon poop. How many people do you know who are affected by pigeon poop, but they get such a bad rap? Okay, one person among.
My balcony was unusable for the longest time until we got like nets put around
Bombay.
because it was just covered in poop. I couldn't even stand outside.
No,
So
do you have
pigeons
health problems because of pigeons?
no, so you don't.
No,
I didn't get
it's
it,
just
but
disgusting.
That is different. The disgusting part is
no,
different.
but I
We are a
have read
very
in the
over
newspaper
sanitized
where
species.
That's true.
workers who work around kabutar khanas, they've affected by pigeon poop because they clean areas around.
No,
Like,
but even I have a gulmohar tree outside my bedroom window and we used to have crows nesting there. And there used to be just two pairs of crows, okay? And over the last year, the pigeons have taken the tree over. And so many things have happened. First of all, the foliage of the tree has all fallen off. Because they're just
Oh.
pigeons. I think they just eat all the leaves. So the foliage has reduced. They've driven the crows out. And they're just sitting outside my bed. Like, if I look out, I can see about 20 pigeons sitting on the tree at any time, any given time. And I've had a persistent cough for like about 4 or 5 months now. It just won't clear.
Oh,
Like, it won't get better, it won't get worse, it's just there. It's just there all the time.
No, so
And
then
they just because we have these huge windows with no grill, so they just fly in. And then they have no idea how to get out again.
Yeah. One, there was
They're
this
a real nuisance. And then they keep dying all over the place. Oh my God.
we
One
should,
time-
I think we should get some French people to stay here. They love pigeons, no? We to reduce pigeon populations, we get a predator. Okay, so
one time at my place, one pigeon like entered my house.
go on.
Never going to end.
So one like entered my house, like it came to the window, and what happened? I was alone. Like my mom had went for a bath, and there was my dog. My dog had one time like bitten a pigeon, and she had like puked, and she had gone sick by that because she bit a pigeon.
Oh my God. I've never heard of
So I was just like, don't get up. I was just praying that my dog doesn't get up, because if she sees birds, she just gets panic. She like just attacks to them. So I was just praying like, please go away. Please go away. Like that pigeons, sometimes they're very dumb and they don't know what to do only. Like once they enter a specific area, they don't know. They're just like panic. So
I
I
don't
was
know
like,
how these birds were used as carrier birds. If they're so dumb, there must be
yeah.
something
And the
about them.
diseased ones
No, I
are
think it's a specific species. I don't think it's just the regular rock pigeons. I think
Also,
it's a
if you think about it, Aditi, only dumb birds will do what they're told, no?
I know they're trainable. I
No,
don't think dumb birds are trainable. So
they're
I'm
not
thinking,
actually dumb. I don't think any animal is dumb, to be honest. That's very unfair. We are not a pigeon. We don't know.
But the diseased ones are more like little dumb. I'm sorry. The
maybe.
diseased ones,
Hmm.
they're more confused than the regular ones.
Okay. So if everyone is done with the watercolor sketch, one quick sketch of the flying crows. I'll just do it in 2 minutes. You don't have to do it. You can just observe, because I would like to move on to the main kingfisher. Okay. So when you have any animal in motion, especially birds, there's a lot of flow in the line to capture. So like in both these cases, we have done a different kind of sketch. For the flying crow, look at making a line that is capturing the action of the bird. So here accuracy is secondary. Look at how the structure of the bird's wings are. So try to capture these angles. Texture is not important. The silhouette of the wing is important. Now, again, in this case, I'm holding the pencil really far and I'm just allowing my eye to follow the outline of the bird. Okay. So this way, motion can be well studied. This also has to go much further away. And it helps understand movement of animals. And whatever corrections you need to make it in this itself. You can shade in a few places if you want to, if that gives you some idea of dimension. But essentially, keep it scribbly and casual. Okay? All right. Now, moving on to the masala of the class. Kingfisher. So here I'm going to give you some dimensions and a way to break down the structure of the bird. This is a very cute specimen, so we'll try and do this one. This one could be the same because they have similar characteristics. So one could be a juvenile, one could be a mature specimen. The proportions are different. The reason I use the same bird is so that you can see how little things make a difference. And sometimes a few things remain constant. Like the proportion of the head to the beak is fairly constant in both the images. And then we have the other measurements. With birds, a good starting point is always a circle. So we have a circle for the head. And the reason for that is because invariably you have a beak that goes through somewhere near the center, or you can make it such that the beak comes out of a center point and then juxtapose the eye and the other features on the face accordingly. So here now the angle is very arbitrary, but if I were to place it according to our horizontal line, this is somewhere between 3 and 4 o'clock. That's an objective measurement, right? Then we will move on to the body. So very often the body can be traced down from the head at a particular angle. So from the center of the first circle, if you draw a line going towards say 4 o'clock, sorry, 7 o'clock. This is the angle of the bird. You could say the spine of the creature. Not the actual spine, but just the structure of this particular bird. The chest of the bird gives us an indication of the next circle or often an oval. Oh, like this. So I'm trying to stay with circles. And then you have some indication of how far you take the next part, a curve from the outside of this circle, and the curve then coming inside and then going outside. So you can build a lot of structure with just these basic shapes. You can have demarcations of the wings. And this is where it becomes easier to draw on a blank page. Okay, I'm going to share this image with you. And this should help you make the illustration. Now we can make this bird slightly large so that painting the details becomes a little easy. Start off with that circle for the head. Remember, leave a little room on the right because the kingfisher's beak is fairly large. And by large, I mean it is more than half of its body, like this on the right. Draw a line to about 7 o'clock. Now the next circle is very close to the first circle, and in size it is about 1.2 times the first circle. This is a fairly visual exercise. So keep, at this point you have to build in some faith in what you see. Once this has been built, go back to the original picture. And now you can build in the real structure. The head is slightly flat on top, roundish towards the back. The eye is somewhere here, and it's oval, it's not a circle. The beak comes into the face, quite a large amount. Then you have a patch, an orange patch, and several patches over here, which you can illustrate fairly visually. The white on the bottom. Then you have the chest. That goes all the way down. So you have to ignore this circle beyond this point. And then you have the wings. Okay. Now, for the purpose of our illustration, just draw the bird sitting on a twig instead of that lotus flower, because the lotus has its own colors and they will clash with the colors of the bird. How's everyone doing? Any help needed?
Is the beak a little too big?
Oh, let me check, huh? Yes, it is a little too big, but no, Rida, don't reduce the beak. I think you need to extend the head a little further. See, right
Okay.
now the head is looking short.
Yeah.
Aditi ma'am, for me, sorry.
Yeah, go on.
Does the body looks okay?
Let me check. The body is looking fine. Just change the angle a little bit of your book. Are you holding it straight? Because the bird, the beak needs to be a little pointing towards somewhere between 3 and 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
So what's happened is you've got this bird slightly more upright. And the head is tilted up in that proportion. So it is fine as long as you either make a change over here. You can increase this side as far as I see it. and change the angle here. All right.
Aditi, can you check the
Yeah.
head of my bird? Not
Yes.
sure.
ma'am. Okay, head seems to be okay. Right. So what has happened is flatten this a little bit from the top. Right now it's looking round. Just flatten it a little bit from the top. Look at the reference image. It is a little flat from the top,
Yeah, okay.
then dips down. That should do it. Now, once your illustration is done, you can remove traces of our circle and other guidelines.
Ma'am, just give me one moment. I'll be right back.
Okay. Oops. Shall we start coloring?
Yes.
Okay. So now for all of these birds, usually there is some white spot somewhere or the other. In this case, the white spot is very tiny. There's just two places that we have white. But I often advise starting painting of the bird with a light gray wash for a few places, especially the white sections. So in this case now, there's a little bit of a white tuft below the beak. So give it a slight gray wash. It's very subtle. And use that same gray for the beak and a little bit on the top as well. Now the tuft on this side has hardly any gray sections, but I would just give a little bit along the bottom. Some of it is going to get covered by another color, but this little bit I found can be very, very real, can make your illustration very realistic. Don't put any gray anywhere else. We will proceed to make the other colors in the sequence of their darkness. Now, both the cerulean blue and this orange color on the chest are in tone pretty much the same. There isn't one lighter or darker. So they can be independently painted and at the same time, not at the same time, but in whichever sequence. So let's start with the cerulean blue. Now, please ignore the white dots that you see over here. If we were to do this professionally, we would probably put some waterproof glue, or no, what's it called? It's called a block.
Masking fluid.
Yeah, masking fluid, so that we can maintain those white dots. But at this stage, we won't do that. But do notice how the color is pretty light on the wing tips, a little bit on the tail tips, a little on the shoulder. And then it's a little dark, almost cobalt blue over here, and then darker in other areas. So we are going to do this in 2 layers. You can start off with one very light cerulean blue wash. Check your color in the palette always. and make this wash in the shape of the feathers. If this is too light, after you have painted the light edges of the wings, you can add a slightly deeper shade, but don't make it too concentrated. So color merges, we've done this before. Some of the new people might not know about this, but color merges are best done wet on wet. So you can merge from a lighter shade to a deeper shade, or from a concentrated color to, or a less concentrated color to a concentrated color. But remember to keep moving forward. Unlike in other mediums, this is not about blending. This is about adding color and then staining the paper in a sequence.
Ma'am, could you tell which number brush have you taken?
I am using a number 6.
Number 6. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, whatever number brush you use, just remember that the pigment amount in the brush is also very important. Don't use brushes with, or don't use too much pigment in these sections. For a bird this size, the best illustrations are made using very little paint and then layering one upon the other. The first layer will look fairly light, and we want to keep it that way. And subsequent layers will become deeper and deeper. Now again over here, we can use light wash for the top of the head, bring in the color towards the eye and the back of the head. And then as you go further, you can add color, add a cobalt blue as well. Now at this stage itself, it will help to create a few strokes going outward to simulate ruffled feathers. And also on the inside, don't make a flat line. So just a few lines over here are enough. You don't have to ruffle the whole head. And if you're not confident, don't do it. It's not that important. So at every point, you're using very little paint in your brush and layering one on top of the other. So see this? I have hardly got any color. In fact, I will actively keep removing color, and whatever residual color I have helps me to create a very subtle brush stroke and these wing feather textures. So I'll pick up paint from here, remove some of it, and then paint these. And when you're making these wing feathers, please pay attention to the texture that you see. Do not, well, I have to use the word, do not wing it. Be sure that you are painting what you're seeing. Otherwise, it'll look like a different bird altogether. Now, after the blue has dried completely without any color patches left, then we will move on to the orange. Now, while we see it as an orange color, we will build this with at least 2 colors, if not 3. So we want a little bit of gamboge, a little bit of orange, and then to deepen that, either a little bit of scarlet or sometimes even crimson works very well. So crimson has a certain vibrancy, which when mixed with the vibrancy of orange can give you a very, very beautiful reddish. There's a fruit like that, which I can't remember the name, not tangerine, but that kind of deep orange color. Grapefruit like.
Pomelo?
Is it pomelo? Yeah, not even grapefruit pink, no? Yeah. So this is how we'll do it. The light color over here is gamboge. So I'm going to apply a little bit of gamboge to the right. And then quickly moving into the new gamboge orange mix. And I want you to see how wet my paint is. It's not so wet that it is creating puddles, but it is reasonably wet. And I keep pulling it forward so that it does not stagnate. And then when you come very close to the edge, you're using a nice clean brush, spread this paint into the area between the blue with a few strands just thrown in. And then add that orange.
This is gamboge mixed with orange, right?
Right. But this third color that I put in is the one mixed with crimson. Gamboge, orange, and crimson. And then again over here, there is a little bit of gamboge and lighter shades. So don't use the orange mix, just keep gamboge over here, because as soon as it merges with this color, the crimson mix, it will turn a little orange on its own. So at any point, do not stop looking at the bird. I found this as a problem, at least what I should call the day scholars, people who come to class here, whose methods I can observe, soon abandon looking at the bird themselves and rely only on what I'm doing. Or just rely on what they think they have seen. And they'll say, oh, that is a particular thing is orange, so I'll make it orange. And then it turns out to be yellow, and that's a huge difference. It's not the same. Not for us anyway.
And for making the borders, which color have you used for the
Sorry?
for the bordering areas?
For the border?
Yeah, the darker shade. Yeah, between
Okay.
blue and
Yeah, the darker shade is a mix of gamboge, orange, and crimson.
right. Okay.
And at every point, you must remember that between layers, you must wait. Don't be in a rush. So since all of us will have different techniques and different a different hand. Sometimes we use a very heavy hand on water or on the color. Everybody's paintings are going to dry at different times. So go by what your painting is doing, or even the weather in different cities is going to be different. Those of you who are sitting in the air conditioning, your paint is going to dry faster. People who have a fan overhead, their paint is going to dry faster. Those of us who have no AC and who are sitting in heat, we will have lots of time to wait before our layers dry. And we will hope that the heat will dry up the layers. That can also help. And then when monsoon hits, all this timing will change. So keep an eye on what's happening on your paper. Now, you can also, you don't need to touch the paper, but one sign of a fully dried picture is when there's no warping. The paper goes back very well to its, or nearly its original state. This was a watercolor illustration with a lot of water. So is this. So if I turn my page around, you will see how the page over here has buckled. But over here, it must have buckled, but it has gone back to close to its original state. This is damp paper. And damp paper is a hotbed. So it will absorb paint very easily. That can be used to your advantage mostly. But if you want to make fine details, wait till this patch recedes. That's a better way of checking than putting your fingers on paint. A lot of people do that. Worst is a lot of people will do this. So, so there'll be one spot that is wet, and then that's it. Kiye karai par pani nahi, paint.
I just use my brush, which is dry, and just do a little touch to see if there's any like pigment on it.
No, don't touch. Never touch wet paint. It's doing its job. Yeah, it's like, I think people who are bakers over here will know, don't open an oven every 5 minutes to see if your cake is done. Every time you open the oven has to work harder to then bring the temperature back up. Let it do its thing. Hum a song, go do clear up something for 2 minutes if you need to, while you wait for the paint to dry. That is always appreciated. All right, so once this base layer is done, we have to fill in the details. And for details, again, take your time in trying to figure out what details go where, how you want to render it. And in many cases now with birds, it's about drawing fine lines in appropriate places. So in the interest of saving time, since we know that it takes a while for paint to dry, let's first address the eye. We can take a little bit of black, and I want you to just observe this first before you all start painting anything. The eye has usually got a rim on the outside. So I take a small section on the inside first, which I will paint. In this, usually you will see there's a small highlight, and then the rest of it is usually just one color. If the eye detail is pretty big, I try to make a pupil in the center, because for me it makes a lot of difference when you make a pupil. Then you use a light gray line to make a border around it, very thin border. Sometimes the border is visible, sometimes it merges with the eye and not because of the because it's not separated, but just because there's usually a shadow there. If we just make a ring around without checking if the ring is completely visible, then it starts looking like an artificial eye. Now, once this is done, I will make a mix of cobalt blue and cerulean blue. Very little bit though, not too much. And also use a rough paper if you're not sure what the consistency of the paint is, and start building texture. Now this is a very slow exercise. And I'm slowly building, stroke by stroke, a little dark patch around the eye. I'm going very close to the orange part now, but only with lines so that it looks like it is feathers, feather covered. And here all your detailing counts. Now, if we go closer to the bird, you'll notice that though the feathers are colored, the texture looks like it's these horizontal lines on the bird. So a little bit of brush manipulation and you can arrive at these kind of horizontal lines. So the way I'm making these lines is I'll show you as magnification. I am pressing the brush down and then pulling it back into a tip. So use the tip and press it down in one side and then pull it back up. That gives me almost like a scallop shape.
Which color are you using, ma'am, for the head, the detailing part?
This is a mix of cerulean blue and cobalt blue. It's only so tiny. My brush is so tiny. And I'm just using this to make tiny marks.
Okay.
So again, over here, what I want to show you is that you can use whatever technique you want to create the illusion that you see. We're not painting it feather by feather for this, in this case. But whatever we are doing, our strokes need to make certain shapes the way we see them. That's all. Even over here, these strokes come like so. And then a little deeper shade, you can go back into this, but very little pigment. You can create more dimension by creating a shorter stroke just towards the beak side. So this is how we build in layer by layer by layer, not by rushing through. And keep adding a light layer on top as you go along.
Have you sort of outlined the head also on the top? I'm sorry.
No, this just came as a wash.
Okay.
Now everywhere else, again, wherever there's a dark color, here there's a gray. It's probably the nostril or something. I don't know what part that is. And below that, it's black. So I'm literally building it in feather by feather. And then at the base over there, that orange patch has got a little bit of red. So I will again. So this part, this quantity of paint that I use, I've seen that a lot of times people use too much paint. It's a small brush and has very little paint over here. That's what gives us our details. So do keep a rough paper handy, do keep your rag handy to frequently wash the brush. Now, usually I don't use a pure black because it can look very boring. So mix a little bit of cobalt blue or ultramarine blue, burnt umber and black together to create an even deeper color. In this particular case, I think the cobalt blue, yeah, is fairly evident in the black of the beak. But again, don't make this as one layer. We have a fairly dark shade first. I usually would do the beak last, but since we're coming towards the end of the class, I wanted to address this first. So can you see how when you pull or drag the brush in one direction, automatically it starts becoming deeper in that direction towards the outside. And always build any feature like this from the inside towards its outer edge, not from outside to inside. That way you can keep modifying. Now here again, I can see that my beak is too high, so I'm going to change its position through paint. Now for the feet, we can just use a beautiful bright scarlet and orange mix. So try to draw the foot the way you see it.
I found the feet like the very cute, like the way it is curled.
Yeah.
It's so tiny.
But this is the one thing, the more you paint birds, and I've painted quite a fair amount by now, everything is so nice and beautiful and fluffy and colorful. And then you see the feet, the talons are crazy. They just look like, I mean, they're weapons after all, right? They look such an antithesis. You expect that this fluffy little thing is going to have like a paws or something, then it's just awful. And it does not go well with the aesthetic, the line aesthetic at all. If I were the creator, I don't think I would have given them talents. But of course, then they would not have survived. So that's a different story. And as for the branch, you can use a combination of yellow ochre and burnt umber and carefully just give a wash. But whenever you give these washes also, try to have a little bit of a color merge and unpredictable coloring. Like you can add a little bit of blue in some places so that you get a more dynamic color flow. Try to build in a shadow somewhere. And some kind of texture. So I have finished the head for us now, and I'm hoping that you're able to paint the rest of the body during the week. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah,
Hmm?
sure.
Okay,
Yeah, we can do it.
good. Okay. So if you have any questions during that process, put them on the group. And if anyone has solutions to that, please go ahead. Oh, before I finish this, you can also use something like a white glass pencil or a white pen to make the white spots. Sorry, I think I got,
Ma'am, I wanted to show a horse sketch.
yeah. Sorry. So for the white spots, you can use a white pen or a glass marker pencil. So that pencil is much better. So that if you miss out on making a lighter section in the bird's feathers, just make a little smudge with a white color, a white glass marker pencil or an opaque white pencil. Sometimes it's also called white graphite, just so that you know the difference between black and white graphite. I don't think it is graphite as much as it's akin to the medium graphite. So it'll be a little chalky and a little opaque. Yeah, go ahead,
Aditi, I
Vidya.
also sometimes use the white poster color because the
Mhm,
watercolor white doesn't really show up. It's too
mhm.
translucent. So if you want something like, like the an intense white to show, then just a sort of poster white also works very well.
I think that's a good idea also. Just when you're using
But you
anything,
have to use it like really sparingly.
when you're
Huh.
using anything that is water soluble though, just take care that the base color does not seep into the white highlight. Okay. My God, Susan, your daughter's so cute. She's nodding exactly like you. Yeah, she understands everything. Oh, hello. Who is this? I haven't seen them before.
Yeah.
It's Benjamin.
Hello, Benjamin. Are you also going to join now? Soon.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. Any questions?
I wanted to show the horse sketch I had done.
Okay. Okay, let's see your horse sketch.
It is not done yet. It is like halfway done. I'll complete it today.
Very nice.
Is there anything I should like correct or anything?
No, so right now, I don't think you should think about what you can correct. Finish the illustration first. Because as you are proceeding, you will yourself notice that there are some adjustments you need to make, and you'll automatically make those adjustments. And once it's finished, then we can see whether or not we want to change it at all.
Okay.
Very nice. Even this front face is looking good.
Thank you.
So, Rhythm, when I saw your crow, your illustrations have a certain graphic quality to them. That's really wonderful. So they're not so as realistic as one might want to make, but I'm going to suggest to you that don't bother making them too realistic if the graphic look is satisfying enough. Okay, so keep at it. I think it's going to look very beautiful and it will become your own kind of style. Then, as we keep doing work, you will be able to then see the difference between the graphic representation and a realistic representation. It's just a matter of how you choose to use your line, some proportions that you start getting more and more accurate. But the style that you have right now is in itself on a very good track. You can do a lot with that itself. So don't try to change that. Keep that. That'll be the difficult part. You will do the realistic part very easily, but one tends to forget the more personal style very easily also. Okay, so
Yeah.
keep that intact.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Any other questions, difficulties, observations, future anxiety about finishing this bird? Okay. All right. So next week I will be taking up. I had thought of sea life, but later in the year we are doing a whole month of sea life. So I don't want to do it next week. I would either do some amphibians or reptiles or insects. If you have anything specific, please post a picture.
Reptile.
Huh?
Reptiles.
Reptiles? All right. We can tackle reptiles. They're good fun. So I'm going to write that down over here and I'm going to try to remember this time. But otherwise, Shivani, this time you can remind me in case I send you pictures of anything else on Saturday.
And butterflies we're doing the next month, right?
Butterflies. I mean, no, next month is going to
Yeah.
be portraiture. So now this is
Okay.
the 15th, right? So we have 22nd and we have one more class, 29th. So we can, wait, no, 29th, I might not be taking class because I have a workshop over here at Starbucks. So there's a chance that I won't be taking that class. And it's on Saturday and Sunday. But I believe that is the 5th class of the month in any case. So we'll be finishing our 4 classes of April. Yeah. Your batch is only batch that gets 5 classes this month. So in case the workshop does not take place, then we can do butterflies then. And Varsha, please remind me again
Sure.
in case I
I
send you
will.
some other pictures. Okay.
Sure.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice weekend.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a nice
Bye.
weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Next week we have
Thank you.
Sorry, go ahead, Rida.
next week we have class, right?
Yeah,
20
we have class on the 22nd. We do. Yeah.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Thank